Resto Boys back with another video. Today we're doing a tier list. If you've seen the title, you know what it's about. Just a little heads up here, I do post on my Patreon early. If you're looking to support it, go check it out. It'll be down in the description, and that'll pretty much be that. So I've seen a decent amount of these tier lists, and I've heard people thinking Outlaw Rogue is S tier. It's really not. Like I've seen one out. I played a ton of 3v3 on all accounts. I played between 0 to 2400, and I've also played solo shuffle. And during that time, I have faced one singular outlaw rogue, one of them. Now I do face a lot of assassination rogues, but no sub rogues, no outlaw rogues. They're literally non-existent, and apparently they're taking away Shadowy Duel. So sub rogues going bye-bye. It's gonna be garbage. But let's start off with the video here. So assassination rogue is gonna be A plus tier. Um, it's coming back. Honestly, at first it wasn't that good, but now it's kind of just, Affliction Warlock, Assassination Rogue, SP Assassination Rogue, Unholy DK Assassination Rogue. There's just a lot of things that you can play. BM Assassin, Dev Evoker, etc. It's just its silencing is very annoying, and it just has the ability to absolute annoy somebody. Meanwhile, if you're playing with like an Affliction Warlock, you're just going in annoying everything. There's nothing in your path that you're not bleeding. That's pretty much that. Outlaw Rogue to me is going to be A tier. Again, it does solid CC and it's okay, but off of its CC, its burst is mediocre, and that's pretty much it. It's kind of just a dampener. It's not something I would advise playing, and the only reason I'm putting it at A tier is because I know people think that it's good, but in reality, it's not good. I'm telling you. There's a reason you don't face it, like at all. We don't see it. And you can't tell me you do see it, because it's the same person. Like, let's be honest. Sub Rogue is kind of in the same routine as Outlaw. Again, just both specs that, sure, they do a lot of stunning, but off that, they just don't do damage. Like, off their burst, they're kind of just sitting there CCing, hoping that their teammates do enough damage to carry the game. Not very viable, but at the same time, I'm just going to put it at A tier because they're still playable, and they're not like Fire Mage type or, stuff like that. The next one is going to be Elemental Shaman. Ellie is doing very well for itself. Um, it's in a spot where it's probably closer to S tier, so I'm gonna put it at A plus for now. Again, I think it's doing very well for itself. It does a ton of burst damage. I see him on almost every other lobby. Same thing with like Affliction Warlocks. The only reason I'm not putting it at S plus is because if they're not playing with another broken spec, they kind of just they're overshadowed because of if you know how to dispel versus them, then it can really mess their category. Like a Shadow Priest, there's an effect, but as an Ellie, there's not really much of an effect. You go up in the air and you take like 500 damage, but like it doesn't really do much. I think they're doing very great. You're going to see a lot of elemental shamans, and that's pretty much that. Enhancement Shaman is also doing insanely well for itself. Um, they do have a one-shot build, which I've actually seen a ton. I've actually gotten one-shotted just today, or tonight technically, and I seen a couple Enhancement Shamans. Also going to be an A plus tier spec. If you're talking about burst, this is the spec it's what sub rogue's supposed to be. Except, enhances the spec that you have to use cooldowns. You face an enhancement shaman that knows how to click burst, it is literally unhealable damage. You have to like bubble, you have to use all your cooldowns. It's like a fantastic spec. Honestly, I might even re-roll to it just to check it out because I haven't really played enhance that much. It's the only spec I haven't really played that much. Enhancement and like that's about it. And like maybe Demo Warlock. So Enhance is in a really good spot as well. We have Resto Shaman, which is going to be A tier, but it's not going to be the best. Again, it's just healing it's okay and it's great, but like when you get down in the healing, for example, if you're facing like a caster, a cleave, like a caster cleave, or like an assassin, affliction warlock, or an Ellie, like it's overwhelming damage. Like Resto Shaman is good at healing burst dam, but it's not good at healing multiple people 24/7. Because the moment they start getting CC'd and they get behind on their healing and they're forced to actually cast, it's just not very good and you're just going to get kicked. And if you don't get kicked, it's just not very good. Obviously, it's still playable. You're still going to see these every now and then, but they're not the best. The next spec that we're going to be going over is going to be Paladin. Paladin is still S plus tier. Again, it has a ton of healing, even though Lightsbane or Lightsmith is nerfed, which I honestly hate the spec. Like, I feel like it's just they need to just nerf it all together. Like, just make it unplayable and make the other spec better, like the Sun one, because I can't stand playing Lightsmith. It's just like it's the most boring rotation, and I hate it. It's like a Fistweaver. Like, stop trying to make healers in the Fistweavers. It's not good. It's not fun at all. But still, it's an S plus here healer. And that's pretty much that. The next one is going to be Ret Paladin. Ret Paladin is also doing pretty good for itself. You're going to see a lot of Ret Paladins, and I would say a Rogue and Ellie are in front and Enhance is behind them, only because Rets just have a ton of utility and they do a ton of burst, but it's mainly just their utility for the team. You're going to see these in a lot of these lobbies. I don't face that many in Arena, but you do see them frequently. Obviously, it just depends on your RNG and what time you queue at. You know, it could just be all those things. The next one is going to be Warlock. Destro Warlock, again, any spec that requires casting is gonna be bad. The game is required for you to have one or two spells that are OP that you can click. The problem is the cast time. They need to do a thing to where I know it'd be broken, but like have a way where they can get an instant cast bolt and make it frequent. You know, give them a proc or something. Like something where it's not every minute, it's like every 15, 30 seconds. You know, allow them that, cast a bolt into a bolt and that would change a lot. But it's gonna be B tier again. This type of spec's not gonna shine that well. It does do a ton of damage, but again, it's a caster. You're forced to channel. You're gonna be getting knocked, kicked. It's just not gonna be fun. Grounded is just I wouldn't advise it. Next spec, Demon Warlock is gonna be A tier. It's doing actually pretty solid. For Demo Warlock, it's just a Sunbot. It does have a good amount of burst dam. The only problem I see with it is its consistency isn't great. I play with a bunch of Demo Warlocks when I play, whatever comp I can play. Shadow play and all that good stuff. Demon Warlock, Frost, whatever. It does a good amount of burst, but I would much rather have an Affliction Warlock on my team than a Demo, for obvious reasons, but still a great spec, it's not doing bad at all. And then we have Affliction Warlock, which is going to be S plus tier. I'd say it's currently the best spec in the game. It's ahead of BM only due to the fact that its AoE capabilities outmatch BM. Now, BM, if everyone's stacked together, then it can compete. But when you're talking about a spec that can kill the entire team, the entire game, wherever they are on the map, and if you dispel it, they take from 80% to 20%, it's just diabolical damage. Yeah, it's definitely the best spec in the game right now, and it's doing very well for itself. The next one that we're going to have is BM Hunter, which is obviously also going to be S tiers, even still after the nerfs. Um, Again, just has a ton of consistency, has a ton of burst, has a ton of CC. It's pretty much a tank class now. You have 4 walls, 2 heals, turtle, feign death every 15 seconds, trap on CD, stun. It's just you have a lot of utility for yourself. So it's a very good thing. We have Survival Hunter, which again is going to be kinda in the same spot as um, Rogue. Again, I would put Outlaw ahead of Sub, but that's all I would do. I think Survival does really good burst damage. I play with several Survival Hunters. Again, they only get outmatched is because they're a melee and because they don't do much damage off their burst. And classes that don't do anything off their burst aren't going to be that good. Like Ret Paladin, you have a good amount of burst. You get procs. Assassination, you always have bleeds rolling. Enhance, you have your one-shot go every now and then. Like all these classes have burst and they have consistency. Survival and these other classes, they just lack consistency, unfortunately. And obviously, melees aren't really the best right now. Casters are kind of overrolling the meta here. The next one that we're going to be going over, Hunter. Even after the nerfs, which I've faced a few, they do a ton of burst, which is great. But off their burst, they're absolutely it's like a sub. It's like a better version of a sub rogue. So I'd put it in front of sub, but behind, everything else. Just because it does good burst, it's great. And the only reason I'm putting Outlaw ahead of it is because of its CC capabilities and its survivability. But otherwise, MM is still viable, but it's not very. It's kind of like in the spot of Serve. I think Serve is better just overall. But that's what I think about that. The next spec that we're going to be going over, again, the A tier are still viable. Like these are viable. The B tier are kind of just meh. Like it's not gonna work. That like you can make it work, but come on, no. I'm just saying the obvious here. But the next one that we're going to be going over. Now, people have an argument on Warrior right now. I feel like Warrior is God tier. I actually face a Warrior almost every single lobby I'm in. And I play with Warriors. I play with, Fury Warriors and Arms. And I would say Arms and Fury are actually pretty high on the list here. Um, if I had to guess, I would put Arms in front of Enhance, and I would put Fury in front of Enhance as well. Great specs. They do a ton of damage. Um, if you Nobody can tell me that warriors aren't in a good spot. They are. Unfortunately, it's in a meta of casters. When casters are meta, it makes it rough for warrior. But that doesn't make the class bad. That's just unlucky comps. Like if you face a comp where you can hit something or you know what you're doing, warrior's a great class and it's one of the best class. I would rather play with a warrior than a ret rogue or enhancement shaman. Obviously, you can say what you want about them, but they are in a good spot, I believe. And that's pretty much that. Next mech is going to be DK. After the buffs, DK is in a solid spot. Now, it is kind of hard to put these in a spot because of, the drama around DK. But if I had to guess where it was, I would probably put it in front of enhancement. I only believe it's in front of enhancement shaman, only due to the fact that it does a lot of damage. It has a lot of things to help the team, but it's mainly just the grips. This class right here, any DK spec can work with so many other specs because of that grip. The grip and the in cap just makes it, beautiful. So I think Unholy DK is coming back and it's actually great. Frost DK is also in a really good spot. Unfortunately, I'm pretty sure they're nerfing it they're nerfing it to the ends of the earth. But again, I like Frost DKs, but they can be really annoying. Their AoE stuns like for no reason. It's just one of the if you're a good Frost DK, you will absolutely dominate every lobby. It is really that strong. Like if you know what you're doing and you're playing a good comp like in threes or solo, um, I would say it's in front of Unholy DK and Enhance. And honestly, I would say we could argue that Enhance is better than no, I don't think so. Oh, it's whatever. I think Frost DK is really insane right now, and the only reason it's behind like the Warriors and the SS is only because its consistency lacks. Frost DK, it does beautiful burst damage, and it's a unique spec for burst. But again, you're talking about other specs that have more to offer than just a one-shot macro. Again, hence why Enhance is worse than Unholy DK because it's great, does burst damage, beautiful. But overall, I feel like Unholy DK does more consistency and it's just better overall. But again, you could argue they're in the same category, so obviously they're close to each other. We can argue which one's in front, but who really cares about that? Um, Next spec that we're going to be going over is going to be Druid. Boomy is actually not that bad. Unfortunately, again, in a meta like this, it's not gonna flourish as it would normally. I think Boomy's in a really good spot. The problem is its defensive cooldowns kind of just suck. It needs survival instincts, and you need more like just for Boomy, there should be a talent that when you're in bear form, you take less damage. It doesn't have to be an insane amount, but like they're just forced to be in bear form, just 100% of the game. It's irritating, but I think Boomy's in a actually solid spot. I'd say it's definitely better than the other specs here. It has two versions of a Incarn. That's insane. That's already bro. That's like having two blades as a sub rogue, like as an MM hunter having two versions of your burst at the same time. You can use it back to back. That's what they can do, and that's why it's doing actually solid. It just does a ton of burst damage. But yeah, Boomy's not terrible. Again, in this type of meta, it's not going to be A plus tier, but it's definitely going to be solid. Again, it's still playable. That's why hence Sub Rogue and MM, they're still playable, but they kind of just meh. They're meh in this type of meta. The next one that we're going to be going over is going to be Resto Druid. Even after the buffs, or whatever you want to call it, um, again, the only way this is viable, which you can argue, is, you know, it's just kind of hard to argue this, to be honest. I feel like Resto Druids are still, they do good healing, but in this meta, when everyone has purges, it's like, bro, all your purges, all your heals get purged, and if you're facing good players that know how to swap, you're literally just gonna get 100 0'd in 3 seconds. Like, I don't see a Resto Druid ever being good in this type of meta. Just because, the amount of purging going on and the amount of damage rolling. Like, imagine having an Enhance or a Ret Paladin or anything on you for, a 4+ second stun. Like, you're gonna die. Still viable, I guess, but I'm not really comfortable putting it where I don't believe it is. So, I think it's solid. It's okay. You can make it work, but again, if you're facing good players or you're not playing 16, 1800 rating, you're gonna get absolutely just fumbled to the ground. The next spec that we're gonna be going over is gonna be Priest. Disc Priest is actually doing pretty good. Now, honestly, I don't really face many Disc Priests. I usually face a variety of things. Sometimes it's Shamans. Like, it really just depends on the night. But I believe they're still S tier. I think they're behind HPAL, but they're still really good. The amount of utility they get, obviously, if it's a good priest, then it can work. You have the CC capabilities you need. You have double PS. I think they do lack a little bit on actual healing, but otherwise, it's good. I feel like I wish just as a healer, you just had a lot of healing. Like I just don't feel like when I'm on my priest, I do a lot of healing. Sure, at the very start of the game, it's fine, but like my actual healing, it's like it feels weird. It doesn't feel fun to play anymore. But that's pretty much that. Shadow Priest is gonna be A+ tier. Um, if I had to put it somewhere, I kind of just want to put the casters on the left, but I feel like people are gonna misunderstand what it is I'm saying. But whatever. Yeah, it's definitely A+ tier. It really does a lot of damage. Has CC. It's really good with Affliction Warlocks and really anything. Assass, Priest. I already said all those comps and all that, but yeah, it's definitely very well. I think Ellie's definitely better just because the flat out burst you're getting. SP does great damage, but I feel like Ellie just does a ton of burst damage. You're talking about unhealable burst damage on every single target. Obviously, off their burst, it's not like they're just hammering you, but like on their burst, everything's dying. And then we have Holy Priest, unfortunately, in the same category. Not very good. Sure, you can make it work, but overall, it's just not that. It just has no defensive cooldowns for their teammates. In this type of meta, without AOE healing and huge defensives, you're not going to stand a chance. The next spec, Evoker. I have faced a lot of Dev Evokers over the time, and they're very good. I would say they're behind SP and Ellie, but in front of most of the other things. Again, I'm putting casters on the left. If they're in the same category, it means they're close to each other. Obviously, people are going to comment, oh, this is not, it really doesn't matter. I face a Dev Evoker with Frost DKs, Dev Evoker with Hunters. You can really play anything with a Dev Evoker. They do a ton of burst damage. They're really tanky, only due to the fact that, when you face a melee, you're never, they're hovering 90% of the game. So, very good spec. Next, we have Prez Evoker. I haven't actually seen many Prez Evokers. I would honestly put it in front of Restless Shaman, but that's pretty much it, I think. I don't know what happened to them, but I haven't really seen any of them lately. It's usually only been Disc Priest, Restless Shamans, and, because Restless Shaman obviously goes really good in the casters because of grounding and all that. So, that's pretty much that's how I think I want to put it there. Again, same category. They're still good, but that's pretty much it. Um, the next one is going to be DH. After the buffs, it's actually doing a lot better than it was. Unfortunately, it relies a lot on its burst. It does a good amount of damage, but again, this class, it's kind of like Sub Rogue. They don't know how to tune it down to where it's good and still viable. Again, it's Blizzard. They don't really know how to do. I don't really blame them. It's a small indie company, so it's like it's whatever. I don't really expect much. But I would say they're ahead of most these things actually. I'd put them right behind Boomy. Um, Again, I don't think Outlaw Rogue or Sub Rogue or MM Hunter. I think they're again in the same category, but yeah, that's all I have to really say about that. Again, I play most of these specs, so I kind of know how good they are, and I've also faced them. So I have a lot of experience, and I've also played every single class to 2400. But that's pretty much that. The next spec is going to be Monk. Windwalker Monk is actually doing it pretty good. It has a lot of defensive cooldowns. Obviously, if you know how to use your port, it's going to be very good. And it's easily going to be A plus tier. And if I had to guess where it would be probably here. So again, in a good spot, very good. But that's pretty much all there is to it. Again, they're in the same category. When I mean by same category, it means they're all good. So every one of these specs are actually good. Like you're gonna see one of these a lot. So keep in mind, I'm not saying, you know, I guess I say this every video. So I guess who cares really anymore? They're in the same category, which means they're close to each other. That's really all I have to say about that. The next spec that we have here is going to be Mistweaver. It's actually not terrible right now, actually. Um, it really depends on who's healing. That's the only problem I see with Mistweaver. Is it does die really quick, but if you're a good Mistweaver, it's very good. But I believe H-Bow and Mistweaver or H-Bow Disc Priest, you can say I see a few Restless Shamans, but otherwise I really just see H-Bow's Disc Priest, and occasionally you face a Restless Shaman, and that's about it. Maybe a Mistweaver every now and then too, but that's pretty much it. The next spec that we're going to be going over is going to be Pharaoh Druid, which is still going to be S tier. Um, it still does a ton of damage. Now again, the only reason Pharaoh Druid's S tier is because one, it's CC, and two, even if you're not that good at CCing, its AoE damage is pretty insane. Again, if it only had one or the other, then it would be kind of like Dragonfly Pharaoh, where they'd have an immense amount of burst, but then off their burst they do nothing. Now they do an immense amount of damage just consistently, and obviously with CC, it's gonna do very well together. The next spec we have is gonna be Fire Mage. I've seen Aegis's build, but let's be honest, yeah, no, it's still not good. And honestly, what we can do is we can just put the I don't think I want to put anything at B because I think it's viable in a sense, but um that's pretty much that. So I'm just gonna put in my A tier. So that means they're all like close to each other. They're still viable and whatever, because we can't really say anything's like B tier because it's still playable. Everything in the game right now is playable. That doesn't mean it's necessarily insane. Alright, at least Destro-wise. Now, these two we can argue all day long. Um, so I'm just going to counteract what I just said, and I'm going to put it Fire at B. I think it's one of the only specs in the game that dies in 2 seconds. Sure, that you can make an AoE build. So that's the thing. There is an AoE build that you can run, and I've actually personally played with one, and it does a ton of damage. But it's still fine, fine. You guys have made me do it. Again, viable in the sense, yeah, see, but that's like saying Fire Mage is as good as Boomy. Yeah, I can't do it. I can't. We're just gonna put it at B. Same thing with Og. Same thing as Og. So they're still playable. There might be a build that you can run, but let's be honest. Come on now. Even with an OP build, only the best is gonna be like only the rank ones are gonna be able to play this and make it work. You can't just log on it and be like, oh well, I'm gonna try to win. No, you're gonna get absolutely you're gonna lose. So that's all. That's the only two I'm gonna put lower, just because I don't believe they're as good as these specs. Uh, Frost Mage. Frost Mage, I don't believe is that good anymore. With the current meta, sure they can work, but I don't see them as good as what they used to be, and I don't really face them anymore. I think just the other specs that can instant cast and stuff are just a lot better. But well, I guess we can put it, behind SP and Ellie, but again, the casters on the left. I'm just saying they're all close to each other. I'm not saying Frost is better than. Actually, I think the Dev Evoker is definitely better than Frost. So Frost is kind of in the back. It's still really good, but that's pretty much it. Again, I'm not saying the casters are better, even though honestly I do think the casters are better. So I guess that is what I'm saying. But yeah. And then we have Arcane Mage, which, again, it does a really good amount of burst dam, and I think it would be really fun. I just hate that it does no consistency. Its consistent damage sucks. It just does a ton of burst, which I think it's honestly makes it better than um the best in the A tier. Like the regular A tier, I think it does a lot of burst dam. Again, you can argue all day long which one you want to put, but I think just because of the arcane burst, it can really work with like feral druids and rogues, and you can work with a lot of comps. So this is my tier list, ladies and gentlemen. Obviously, this is not based on factual, you know, the facts. Like I didn't go and check which one's higher and all this. This is just me based off what I faced lately, based off what I'm just kind of putting them in a sequence here, and that's pretty much it. And honestly, again, you can argue all day long which one of these are better. I think Dev Evoker is probably better than SP right now. It just does an insanity amount of dam, but we'll just put it here for now, and we'll just leave it at that. So again, let me know what you guys want to watch next. Obviously, I'm not really pushing on my account anymore, at least for the meantime. So I'm trying to, figure out other content. So you guys have to let me know what you guys want to watch and all that good stuff. If you guys want to see a good Outlaw Rogue guide, obviously nobody plays Outlaw, so I don't really have much people asking for it. Or Assassination Rogue guide, just let me know what you guys want to see. I'll do whatever you guys want to watch. But it's been X. Let me know what you guys want to see next. Check out my Patreon. Otherwise, it's been Xvic, and I will see you guys in the next video.